Hey friends, it's Joel Richardson, and I've got a very brief announcement, and then after the announcement, I'm going to share a recording of a teaching that I did several weeks ago in the desert of Wadi Rum in Jordan. So what was I doing there in Jordan? Well, as most of you know, a couple times a year, I'm taking groups to Saudi Arabia, to northwest Saudi Arabia, to see the biblical Mount Sinai, Jabal Lawz, as it's called in Arabic, the Mountain of Almonds. And not only the mountain itself, but several of the sites that are related to the Exodus, the town of what is considered to be Jethro's hometown, the city of Al-Biddah, which is often referred to as Midian, the land, the ancient biblical land of Midian. And there's a whole host of sites kind of up in that area that have very really amazing connections to the biblical narrative of the Exodus. So we've been going there a couple times a year for the past 5 years, but in our last tour, we added the Jordanian extension. So of course, after the Israelites were there, in the land of Midian, they eventually moved their way up into the land of Edom. And so you have numerous biblical sites that were part of the Exodus itinerary that are actually in the land of Jordan. And so we've added the Jordan extension, add a few days to the tour in order that we can check out some of those sites and also see the traditional sort of tourism sites in Jordan of Petra and Wadi Rum, which is absolutely amazing. And one of the things that I did when we were there in Wadi Rum, because within the Wadi Rum it's essentially, think of it like a nature preserve. It's a massive, massive area that's really sort of cordoned off. You have to go in through the gate to get into this huge area. And one of the mountains that's actually in Wadi Rum, it straddles the border of Jordan and Saudi Arabia, is Jabal ad-Dami, I believe I'm saying that right, which is the biblical Mount Paran. It's the tallest mountain in the kingdom of Jordan, the Hashemite kingdom of Jordan. It's the tallest mountain, and it is the biblical Mount Paran. So if you have read my book, Sinai to Zion, if you've listened to any of my teachings on the return of Jesus, you know that whether it's Deuteronomy 33 or Habakkuk 3 or some of these different passages, Judges chapter 5, Mount Paran, again, one of the tallest mountains to the south of Israel, it actually plays a very prominent role in some of these passages that speak of the return of Jesus when he is shining and radiating like the sun, marching from the south. And like the morning sun, he's shining and dawning over these tall mountains to the south. So it mentions in multiple passages, it mentions Mount Sinai. It mentions Mount Seir, which is the tallest mountain, the capital mountain in the ancient kingdom of Edom. And most scholars would say it's actually modern-day Petra. And then you have Mount Paran, which is really in between the two. And so you have these various passages that speak of the sun shining over these tall mountains to the south, but it's not the sun. It's the Lord himself radiating and shining in glory. So it was a really amazing opportunity for me to actually be able to hike Mount Paran, which we did on this last tour. And in future tours, we'll have the opportunity to do that again. It's really amazing. You get to look down into Saudi Arabia. You can look over at the Red Sea. You can see Israel and the city of Eilat and Aqaba and Jordan. So it's quite a vantage point. We'll just put it that way. But all that said, I said it was going to be a brief announcement. If you are interested in seeing the real biblical Mount Sinai, I would love for you all to come with me. Now, here are the qualifiers, just to be real straightforward with you. Cost-wise, comparatively to Israel, going to Saudi Arabia is a lot more expensive. It's a burgeoning, new, opening market, and they're still... I mean, we're really early on, but they're still just developing infrastructure and so on and so forth. So for those reasons, it's still quite pricey, and I acknowledge that. I want to acknowledge that and say it's more than if you were just, going to Israel. On the other hand, with all of the development up there in the Tabuk province, one of the issues that we're dealing with right now is there's tremendous construction. There's so much happening, so much developing. Every time we go back, they go, well, this site is closed, or this location, we can't get permits for this and that. We don't know when it's going to be shut down. Like, anytime the whole thing could be shut down for the purpose of development. And it could be shut down for a few years. Like right now when we go, for example, we go to the Split Rock. We climb right up and people go right through the middle of the split. They're already developing the area. It's just a matter of time before they put up a big wall around it, and we'll be looking at the Split Rock through, sort of a binoculars or telescope, or kind of looking at it, but not actually being able to go up and personally touch it and this sort of thing. So we just don't know what the future holds. And so I encourage people, I go like, you really want to kind of get in now while it's still in its sort of pristine, undeveloped form. You can see it as it has been for all these years, the way that it was found when Ron Wyatt found it back in the 80s, or when Bob Cornuke went there, or the Caldwells in the early 90s. You can really get a feel for how isolated it is and how it was just way out in the middle of nowhere. That's quickly changing. So on one hand, it's still rather pricey. On the other hand, we just don't know when the whole thing's going to get shut down. So for that reason, there is kind of an issue of urgency that I just like to be honest with people about. We don't know what the future's we don't know what the future holds. So with all that said, I'm going to go ahead and share this brief message that was recorded there when I was in Wadi Rum just this past April. Again, I would love for you, if you're interested, to come. Go to livingpassages.com. We'll put the links at the bottom of the video, and you can sign up to come with me either this October or the following February. So God bless you all, and have a fantastic week.
So usually what happens is we read all these Old Testament passages with all these names, toponyms, and we just kind of go, Old Testament name, I don't know, we just keep going. We don't often stop and think what it means. So Isaiah 60 is one of the most beautiful passages, in my opinion, in the Bible that speaks of the Messianic kingdom. Coming of the Lord, and just after that, the kingdom that he establishes. Now, throughout the Islamic world, and even, in general, in the Arab world, really one of the worst words imaginable is Zion. And yet it's everywhere throughout the Bible. The word Zion, yes, it's the mountain where David reigned, but its ultimate meaning, it is the embodiment of our hope. Zion is speaking of the Messianic kingdom. It's speaking of the restoration of all things. So that's what makes, in my opinion, this passage so powerful. Now, in so many of the passages that we've been talking about, Deuteronomy 33, Habakkuk 3, Psalm 68, we've seen the repeated language of when he comes, he's radiating in glory, he's shining, he's dawning over the mountains, over the high mountains of Sinai and Paran and Seir. So Isaiah 60, very similarly, it says, arise, shine, for your light has come. And I always kind of insert, so, again, just put yourself in the shoes of a Jew who is, maybe believer, religious, but not a believer in Jesus. And you go, like, we have this book, we have this history, these promises that someday we would have peace with our neighbors. No longer, the whole world wouldn't hate us. We would be able to serve God. They go, we have all these promises, we have this book, but yet generation after generation, it doesn't happen. They just keep trying to kill us. And so even when you read that first verse, arise and shine, I just always want to insert, for your light has finally comes. It's the finally, it's here. And everything we as well, we're yearning and waiting for this corrupt, wicked age to come to an end. So, but it uses that language of the dawning, the shining. Arise and shine, for your light has come. The glory of the Lord, which is what? Radiant, shining light has risen. Just like in a dawning, risen the glory of the Lord has risen upon you. You know, it's like that first day of spring when you actually feel the sun on your skin. You know, it's, for behold, darkness will cover the earth. That's right now. Deep darkness, the peoples. It's always darkest just before the dawn, right? Darkness will cover the earth, deep darkness, the peoples, but the Lord will rise upon you. His glory will appear upon you. And then it says, so now again, it's speaking of the restoration of the Messianic kingdom on Mount Zion. Nations will come to your light. Kings will come to the brightness of your rising. Lift up your eyes round about and see. They're gathering. Like, here are all these kings coming. What are they coming for? They gather together. They come to you from afar. And then look, your sons will come from afar. Your daughters will be carried in their arms. It's like they're bringing back the kidnapped prisoners of war. Then you will see, and your heart will be radiant. You will be radiant. Like, that's such a, your heart will thrill and rejoice, because the abundance of the sea will be turned to you, which means the wealth of the nations will come to you. So it's speaking of people bringing the wealth of the nations as tribute. And then get this, ready? You go, okay, this is a beautiful picture. And then all of a sudden Isaiah says, a multitude of camels will cover your land. Where are these camels? Where are they coming from? The young camels of Midian and Ephah, and all those from Sheba will come. So it's talking about Saudi Arabia. They'll bring gold and frankincense, all of the things that it was famous for. They will bear the good news of the praises of the Lord. All the flocks of Kedar will be gathered to you. The rams of Nebaioth will minister to you. They will go up. You go, so wait a minute, what's going on? Why are these caravans bringing, not just a few, multitudes coming from the south? And it says they will go up, and it says they will, and their offerings will be accepted on my altar. So there's this regional friendship. There's no more hostility. There's blessings. They will go up with acceptance on my altar, and I will glorify my glorious house. And he's like, who are these? Who are all these people? They fly like doves to their lattices. The coastlands have waited for me. The coastlands will wait for me. In, you know, the United States, biblically speaking, are the coastlands, you know, far off. And then it says, for the Holy One of Israel, because he has glorified you, foreigners will build up your walls. Their kings will minister to you. And then the Lord says to Israel, in my wrath I struck you. In my wrath I struck you, but in my favor I will have compassion on you. And then again, Jerusalem, your gates will be open continually. They will not be closed day or night, so that men may bring the wealth of the nations, their kings led in procession. And then it says this, I will beautify my sanctuary, the place of my feet will be glorious. Okay, he's present. You know, this is again the culmination, Sukkot, the dwelling of God is with man. And they will call you, no longer a swear word. You know, to me, like, Zion is like the N-word. You know what I'm saying? Biblically, it's intended to be understood as a thing of beauty, but it's understood as a thing of pain and misunderstanding and racism, and it has all these negative things. But here you have this picture. Everything is reversed. There's all this friendship and everything. And then it says, and they will call you the city of the Lord, Zion, of the Holy One of Israel. It's now a sweet word, as this, you know, it's the reversal of all of the years of hostility, of Ishmael and Isaac fighting. No, now everyone's worshiping together. And it's just a beautiful picture. But you look at the names, Nebaioth, Kedar, all coming from caravans of camels. It's a beautiful picture.